I've been trying very hard to avoid the knock on the window, wake up type thing, If I have any inkling of doubt that someone's gonna knock on my window, I won't be able to sleep if I have that I'm in a bad spot. It hasn't happened yet.
Welcome to the Tiny House Lifestyle Podcast, the show where you learn how to plan, build, and live the tiny lifestyle. I'm your host, Ethan Waldman, and this is episode 249 with Matt Coldren. If you've listened to the show for a while, you know that I try to feature tiny houses built for lots of different budgets. And if you listened to my interview with Nicholas Natali a few months ago and enjoyed it, you'll enjoy this one too. Because my guest, Matt Coldren, decided not to wait to live tiny. He looked around at what he had, saw that he already owned a pickup truck, and decided to build out a very inexpensive tiny house in the bed of his pickup truck. And this is allowing Matt to live the lifestyle that he wants to live. He travels for work, so he doesn't need much in terms of his home. And he loves living tiny. So if you want to get inspired by someone who decided to just jump in and do it and not wait for permission, not wait for saving up money or anything like that, check out this interview with Matt Coldren. I hope you enjoy our conversation, and if you do, I hope you'll leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and share it with any friends, family, or colleagues via social media or however you want to share it if you think that they could learn from this conversation as well. Also, if you're listening and you don't follow the show, make sure to hit that follow button in Spotify, in Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen so you get a fresh episode of the Tiny House Lifestyle Podcast delivered to you every single Friday. I publish episodes on Friday mornings usually, so you wake up and the new episode is there for you. And if you want to hear from me even more, head over to thetinyhouse.net/newsletter where you can sign up for the weekly Tiny Tuesdays newsletter. This is a roundup of Tiny House news, summaries of the new podcast episode, and more, written by me every Tuesday. All right, let's get on with the show. All right, I am here with Matt Coldren. Matt is a 31-year-old cell tower climber / snowboarder. Originally from Phoenix, Matt has lived in Flagstaff since 2010. Traveling for work during the week made him realize that paying rent was a waste of money, so he began really thinking about how to cut out rent altogether. Matt got a camper shell for his truck in March of 2022, moved out of his house in July, and has been learning and enjoying having a truck for a house ever since. Matt Coldren, welcome to the show.
Hi, Ethan.
How's it going? Thanks for being on the show. I haven't had anybody on yet who, has done a truck bed camper. And I was curious if you could tell us kind of a little bit more about what your thinking was, and why you chose to do a truck bed camper, over something else.
Okay. Well, it was just an idea maybe a year and a half ago. I was working with my buddy who told me that he lived in his truck bed for a summer. You just like fantasize about this stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
I think I'm going to do that. So I started thinking about it. And so in Flagstaff, rent's pretty high. And so with utilities and all that stuff, it was upwards of like $1,400 a month, maybe, with internet and all that.
Wow. Yeah.
And I'm on the road in different states like most of the week, sometimes 2 weeks. And at the end of the day, I'd barely be home. So I was just like, I can't afford to keep paying this rent money. And I already had a GMC Sierra, like crew cab. And one day I was just researching at home and I found a camper shelf for $700 in Prescott Valley. And same day
Hmm.
I went and looked at it and it was carpeted, the windows worked. The only thing that needed some work was the latch on the back. And I was like, okay, for $700, I'll take it. And it fit perfect.
Okay.
All I had to do was like a little bit of Dremel work to the pop hatch on the back to get it to work.
Okay.
And as soon as I got home with that thing, it was just game on. All I did, like I stopped snowboarding for the winter. Every day I had off, I was just working on it. It really sparked like the stoke, I guess, to be like, okay, I can start doing this, and
Hmm.
it's just been, yeah, just going uphill. Well, not going uphill, but progressing ever since
Awesome.
that. So,
Awesome. Can you kind of describe the truck bed camper for, since this is a podcast, so people will be listening more than they will be watching.
yeah.
How big is it? What does it have inside of it? Those kind of things.
Okay. Well, I'll start with originally I was going to sleep in the cab of the truck. So that was the original plan. I took the seats out
Okay.
and I had like sort of a bed frame, like a platform back there. I had clothes storage underneath, curtains and all that. And I did that
Uh-huh.
one weekend and I was like, that it was super cramped and it's just not that functional
Uh-huh.
in terms of, I mean, you can pretty much just sleep in there. So I was like, okay, that's not going to work. I'll do what everyone else does and sleep in the back of the truck. So I started building that out. I left the center 2 feet open
Hmm.
for like my rollout pad. This is like looking in from the back of the truck. On the right is countertop all the way
Hmm.
to the back, all the way to the window with a hand pump sink that just drains out the wheel well. Cabinets all underneath that
Hmm.
with a big one of those big blue water tanks on the very back.
Okay.
And then so that's the right. The bed rolls out in the middle or rolls up, whatever, so I can use it during the day. And
Hmm.
then on the
Hmm.
left is like a little short table that like has all my food and stuff. I like repurposed some license plates and all
Hmm.
this stuff to like compartmentalize the food and all that stuff. And then just in front of
Hmm.
that table, I have the Reliance flush and go like portable camp toilet thing.
Okay.
So I have everything I need back there. When I wake up in the morning, I have a solar generator that I use. I can make coffee, use the bathroom if I need to,
Yep.
and so I can wake up and not even have to get out of the truck for a couple hours.
Nice. And is it tall enough that you can like stand up inside of it?
No, I can't stand up. So that's the one thing that I'm like, I wish I could do is stand up, but I just have to get out of the truck to what
Yeah. Yeah.
also so going off that, like I can't stand up. So it kind of forces this lifestyle, like in my setup has sort of forced me to just spend more time doing activities that I like to do and like actually hanging out with my friends. Like I hang out with my friends more now, like and I'll be snowboarding
Uh-huh.
or climbing, whatever, because sitting in the truck all day is not really an option. It's you know,
Right. Right.
too cramped. But
Now, um, we started talking. You actually bought my guide, Tiny House Decisions, and then you kind of sent me some photos of the truck, and I said I'd love to interview you. So in those photos, are those the same photos that we're talking about? Like, because when I look at that, I just see like like a truck, a bed cap, like
yeah,
what I would refer to as a bed cap. Like I wouldn't look at it and say like, oh, that's a camper.
it's not. Yeah, so it's just a cap. It's not like a cab over or anything. It's just a
Cool.
fiberglass cap. Yeah,
Yeah. So that's super stealth.
it is. That's what's cool too. Is I realize like I'm learning all these things. Like sprinter vans, not stealth. I can, or four wheel drive for that matter. I can drive through snow, like all these places. I can park on the street, and since I live in Flagstaff, it just looks like another mountain town truck. It's like
Hmm.
besides
Yeah.
you can see the reflectix like on the windows, like the insulation during the winter. But other than
Yep.
that,
Yep.
there's no real giveaway that someone's sleeping in there.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And you spent $800 on it.
The the cap was only $700,
Uh huh.
and I
That's
drove an
awesome.
hour away from where I lived in Flag and brought it home the same day.
Awesome. So, how has it been sleeping in there in the winter?
Not bad. Well, so I built a subfloor and I have
Okay.
reflectix on the windows, and the shell was already carpeted, which I came to realize was a huge blessing because I have like Velcro storage on the roof and stuff. And I have the little portable Mr. Buddy, the really small one that
Hmm.
will heat up the once I close it up for like the night wherever I'm at. I only have to run that thing for maybe 15 minutes, and the whole space is really hot. I toot my own horn, I guess, but I feel like I did a pretty good job of sealing it up and insulating it.
Nice.
This past weekend was the coldest yet. It When I got out to start my truck in the morning, it was -5.
Woo.
So, but I mean, I could just tell I was a little bit more chilly than usual. And then when I got out, I was like, okay, that's why it was -5
That's pretty cold.
outside. So yeah, but yeah, I kind of feel like I'm drawing the line at like I'll check the weather, and if it's gonna be below 10, it's just not really worth camping in that cold. I'll
Yeah.
drive somewhere warmer because all my stuff froze. Like the toilet flush thing froze, my hand pump
Yep.
froze, all my stuff froze. It was kind of brutal, but
That does not
hey,
sound fun.
learned from that one. So
But you can take your house with you and just search for
exactly,
warmer weather.
that's what I did. I went down to Camp Verde, off the Sedona exit, and went out to Wet Beaver
Uh-huh.
Creek this last weekend and in
Okay.
Flag Creek, and it was like 50 degrees and beautiful. So I have the option to do that because the dispersed camping in Arizona is it's insane. There's so much. I just keep wanting to find new sites and stuff, and yeah, it's kind of an addiction type thing.
Cool. Yeah. Can you tell us more about like what is dispersed camping and how do you find the places to do it?
For me, I have the Avenza app. I just started like, when I do anything, I go like 110%. So I got into all these apps and stuff. One of my friends from Lake Tahoe showed me the iOverlander app,
Yeah.
which has like people checking into dispersed places and like when they'll have dates when they checked in, what the situation was, like was it actually open, all that. But the Avenza app shows you Forest Service roads, and
Ah.
a dispersed camping road will be like highlighted in orange, or there's like a little what you call it index on the side that'll tell you if it's dispersed camping, motor vehicles all year, this that, and then sometimes so the spots in Flag that we're going to all summer are closed now because there's so much snow. But that's kind of
Hmm.
just the thing when you pull up to the gate, you're like, oh, okay, it's closed for the winter. I'll just find somewhere else. But so yeah, the Avenza app and the iOverlander app are what I've been relying on, and haven't failed me so far. So
Awesome. And then so you just or go ahead.
I was just gonna say I've been trying very hard to avoid the knock on the window, wake up type thing. I just if I don't feel like if I have any inkling of doubt that someone's gonna knock on my window or disturb me in the middle of the night, I just will move on. I won't be able to sleep if I have that sense that
So
I'm in a bad spot.
has that happened yet? Have
It
you had
hasn't
that?
it hasn't happened yet, so I'm gonna try to keep that going. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear it. So what do you have to do? Walk me through like the process of going from kind of day mode to night mode. Like what do you have to do to kind of get yourself into the bed of the truck, kind of tucked in, ready to sleep?
Okay. Well, at first, over the summer, I was packing everything up every night. I was like rolling my bed up, sleeping bag, putting it all in my store. I have a rooftop box
Hmm.
on the cab.
Hmm.
And over time, I was like, it's too much work. It would take me like a whole hour to get all this stuff ready. So now I fold the sleeping bag back toward the window, roll the bed up toward the window, and that's pretty much it. So like if I'm pulling up to my site,
Hmm.
before I get there or whatever, I'll have whatever food stuff I want to cook toward the back.
Hmm.
It's really not that much stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll prep my coffee maker the night before, but I can really just pull up and get in, close up, and that's it. And I do peel it's been if it's sunny or warm, I like to see out, so I'll peel the reflectix back. So other than
Yep.
just like covering the windows again with the reflectix, making sure I have propane in the heater is one thing, or enough propane,
Yep.
but it's
Yep.
really not. It's gotten so much quicker. I've pulled up in the middle of the night now, and I was so scared to just pull up like super late in like because of all the preparation I used to have to do. But now I pulled up at like
Yeah.
midnight this past weekend to a spot. Like I camped at Snowbowl, the ski resort in Flagstaff, one night.
Nice.
Just pulled up at midnight when no one's gonna mess with you, and just got in, fired up the heater, and good to go. So
Awesome. And then you get the fresh tracks.
exactly, yeah, and it's been really busy up there. So waking up in the parking lot, I'm guaranteed my parking spot, and I have a season pass, so I
Yeah.
don't really mind. Like I want to go late, but like it's been so busy. Camping there is just how you relieve that stress. I'm like, I just wake up at
The
the
way to
resort.
do it.
Yeah.
So do you have a way of getting into the bed from inside the cabin, or do you
No,
have to go
that's
outside?
another. I have to go outside,
Okay.
and that's just the truck I have. It like
Okay.
in hindsight, if I would have known where I'd be now, probably would have. I would have probably got like a Suburban like that one guy you interviewed,
Mhm.
because being able to walk straight up to the steering wheel is pretty cool. So besides that, and I can't stand up. Those are like the two main things. But
Right.
yeah, I
Right.
have to get out.
How long do you think you'll do it for?
I don't see an end to it. I'm so in the stage I'm at right now. I'm just in the save money to build a tiny house stage.
Nice.
So
Nice.
but I'm really enjoying it. So it's only been like
That's awesome.
6 months or something, and I'm saving money and enjoying it. So I don't really see why I would stop. The only thing that's been like expensive. Well, I had neck surgery in August actually, so there's that.
Ooh.
So it's kind of a funny timeline. Right when I moved into the truck, the first 2 weeks went so well, so amazing, and I was like, "Yes, this is awesome." And then I had an MRI because I was having weird like my legs were shaking and like these weird symptoms. I was like, "I'll get this checked out." And then I had to get surgery like
Mhm.
immediately after the first 2 weeks of living in the truck. So instead of paying
Oh
rent, I was
no.
like paying for surgery
Oh
and
my gosh.
slowly got back into it. Yeah, but besides that, in car maintenance, truck maintenance stuff, because I drive
Yep.
back and
Yep.
forth to Phoenix a lot for flying and stuff. So, but yeah, I don't see an
Wow.
end.
Well,
To
I'm
answer your
glad. I'm glad
question
you're
the longest.
okay.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good now. Back to climbing. So
Um, I would imagine that like after surgery, like climbing into the truck bed might not have been as fun or easy.
yeah, it was a little while. My neck was pretty,
Hmm.
stiff for a while, but luckily my parents live in Phoenix, so I have that as a blessing too. My situation's it's just kind of perfect. My parents live in Phoenix, so I'm able to keep my Pelican case there for work.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like I'll just stop by, grab my Pelican case, fly wherever. They're kind of letting me store a thing or two like for work at their house. So I have that.
Yeah. What can you tell? I'm just curious because I think people. I'm just prefacing this. The reason why I'm asking you what you do for work because I think that people, you know, I try to expose my listeners to lots of different types of tiny lifestyles because I've realized that there are so many different subsets within tiny. So I'm just, curious like what do you do for work?
I do cell phone tower maintenance, for lack of a better way to describe it.
Okay.
For the most part, it's just a lot of travel. We're traveling around different areas.
Uh-huh.
That's the project I'm on now is maintenance. So we're looking at just the
Yep.
structural safety of these towers, pretty much.
Okay.
But yeah, so that schedule lends itself to the way I'm living in this truck too, because it's not a full time.
Yeah.
I'm not full time in the truck, which makes it way more manageable. I think if I had to live full time in the truck, it'd be a lot harder.
Mhm.
But so since I'm at like hotels during the week,
Mhm.
it's like by the end of my work week or work 2 weeks, I'm just like so ready to get back in the truck and be away. And then however long I'm in the truck, like could be 5, 10 days. By the end of that, I'm like, all right, I'm ready to go take a shower in a hotel. So they kind of just like feed to each other
Yeah.
and it really works out. Yeah. I think, yeah, it'd be really, really tough to live
Nice.
full time in the truck.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like for, for someone who travels for work a lot, and your employer's probably paying for the travel and putting you up in a hotel when you're
Absolutely.
there. You don't need that much at home.
Exactly. Yeah. They pay for hotel, they pay for flights, and I get to keep all the hotel points and the flight points.
Yep.
So, I mean, yeah, I can stay in a hotel if I need to whenever with points. I can fly wherever it's and I could pretty much
That's
live
awesome.
wherever too, as long as I'm sorta near, like, a major airport. I could move like, I could live pretty much wherever I want. I haven't ventured out of Arizona yet, but
What's your background? Like, did you like train to specifically do that?
before this, I was building ski lifts. So I
Wow.
yeah, I'll give
You
you a
had the
little
climbing
background.
you had climbing background already.
Sorta, there's a little bit in ski lifts. It's actually not that big
Yeah.
of a part of it, the towers for the lift, but so I worked at Snowball for probably 10 years, and then they were building a new lift, and I got hired on to build that lift,
Uh-huh.
and then I ended up working for that company for 5 years building a bunch of lifts, and then COVID
Mhm.
happened, and when COVID happened, the people I quarantined with got me into rock climbing outside. I'd never rock climbed, and I just became obsessed with it, and we went every day.
Uh-huh.
And then I went to Utah to build another ski lift, and, like, halfway through that, my little brother already worked for this tower company, and we started talking about it, and he ended up getting me an interview, and I was like, because I was super into climbing, I wanted to just climb stuff, and
Yeah.
that was, like, 2 years
Yeah.
ago, end of 2020, and then so, yeah, that's the path that got me to tower climbing, and, yeah, been doing it since,
It's pretty cool.
and it's good. Yeah, it's fun when it's fun,
Yeah.
and when it sucks, it really sucks, but
Yeah, I would imagine that having to do it in really bad weather is not that
oh, it's
fun.
that's terrible, yeah, and you always have to be, like, you wake up you can't just have, like, an off day, like, say you have to climb a 400-foot tower, you
Mhm.
kinda have to be just have to be focused all the time because it's kind of a dangerous job in that sense.
Right. Right. So are you essentially like lead climbing up the tower?
No, so there's a safety cable
Okay.
that runs the span of most of the towers, some of them don't have them, but we have a
Uh-huh.
little, like, ascender on our chest, on our harness. You clip onto the rope, and it
Mhm. Mhm.
it goes with you up the tower, and it locks when you like, if you were to
Okay.
fall. So
Okay.
that's the main safety on most. Some of them don't have that, and you have to use your pelican hooks, the big hook, and double hook
Yep.
like that, but, yeah, we're 100% tied off all the time, so you're always connected to the tower.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. Wouldn't wanna free climb any of these things, that'd be insane, especially because we got a lot of weight, like, probably between 15 to 30 pounds of stuff just hanging off of us the
Right. So
whole
you're
time,
bringing
so
tools up there too.
yeah, we got tools and random bolts and all this stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your lifestyle because I like that you kind of worked with what you already had, which was your truck. And, instead of spending a really long time kind of agonizing about it, dreaming of a tiny house, you
Yeah,
kind of said, like, what can I do right now with what I have right now?
yeah,
And now you're saving, I'm guessing what your rent was, $1,400 a month that you can
more or
put
less.
just straight towards whatever's next.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I always everybody, you see it on Instagram, you see the fantasy tiny house stuff, and yeah, I don't know,
Yeah.
just one day clicked, and it lined up perfectly with the end of my lease in that house too. I love that house. It was like this little one-bedroom brick
Mm-hmm.
house in Flagstaff, like, awesome, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know, I got the shell, and then I had 4 months until my lease was up, and I just you just you do it's if you do one project at a time, like I did, it becomes feasible, and then by the end of July, I was like, "I can fully do this." I had field tests, so I had time to, like, field test the truck,
Yep.
and see
Yep.
you don't really know until you get in it, and, like, I'm always changing not always changing stuff, it's at, like, pretty much where I like it now, but the first couple times I was like, "Okay, this doesn't work, like, this doesn't work. We got a small leak right here, let's fix that."
Yep.
So,
Yep.
stuff like that, but, yeah, one project at a time, you can do it. So that's why I'm still motivated to do the tiny house because 'cause I'm like, I know with my construction background and all this, like, not worried about that.
Hmm.
It's just there's a lot of, like, loopholes, with codes and zoning and all that and
Yeah.
stuff that that do stress me out, but they're also things that I know I'll be able to handle piece by piece when I actually start going forward.
Do you think you'll do like I'm going to say a classic tiny house on wheels?
I think so, yeah. So, by the climbing gym I go to in Flag, there was a couple tiny homes being built on trailers. So I would drive by
Uh
them
huh.
every day when I'm leaving the
Uh huh.
gym, and I actually saw there's a tiny home community that popped up in Flagstaff. I drove by it a couple weeks ago, and I was like, "Oh, that's where those houses are going." But yeah, they're just standard, like, gable tiny homes. I'm like, "I don't need that much?"
Yeah. Yeah. And do you think you'll try to travel with the tiny home, or do you think you'll try to keep that, keep it in place and then do your traveling from there?
Yeah, I think I'd like to set it down somewhere.
Yeah.
The idea of driving it around seems kinda daunting. But
Yeah.
that's the
Well, you've
other thing.
got the yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen tiny house people, especially ones who have traveled with their tiny house will then kind of realize, or they've always known, but it becomes pretty burdensome to tow around a 10,000 pound house. So
Yeah.
they end up building out something that is mobile, like a van or a
Yeah.
schoolie conversion. So that becomes their travel tiny house, and then
Mhm.
their big tiny house in
Yeah.
quotes, becomes the thing that stays put.
Yeah, so I've already got the truck. I'm like, I do fantasize about vans. Like, my brother just got a little Ford Transit van that he's kinda
Uh-huh.
lagging on, building out, which I wish he would start so I could help him, but
Yeah, he needs you.
yeah, I mean, I you see vans all over the place. My friends who work for another tower climbing company have this really cool school bus, short bus that's amazing that they're constantly working on, and
Nice.
but I'm like, "Yeah, I already have a little mobile house." It's not the best, but it's getting it done, so I'm like, it's tiny house from here. Maybe I think trying to buy land or something is what I'd have to do first, so I'm just
Yeah.
one thing at a time. My mind goes all over the place, but right now I'm like, just save money and try to enjoy it while I'm doing it. Because
Awesome.
yeah, I'm 30. Today's my birthday, actually. I'm 32.
Oh, happy birthday.
So I gotta do it. I'm getting old, only getting older.
Yeah. 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 So one thing that I like to ask all my guests is, what are two or three resources that helped you out when you were doing this project and that you'd like to share with our listeners? And it could be kind of open ended. It could be YouTube channels. It could be people, anything.
YouTube, I actually found this dude, like, halfway through filming my stuff. It's
Hmm.
this guy Mav, I think his name's Maverick,
Hmm.
and I was, like, halfway through my stuff, and I had already camped a couple times, and I found his channel. I was like, "Wow, this guy, like, his setup is exactly like mine." Like, same heater, same
Hmm.
generator, at least at first, all that stuff. So I was like,
Hmm.
"Okay." So I started watching all his stuff, and that just gets you stoked too. So him,
Yep.
and I
Yep.
during, like, surgery recovery, I read, like, every tiny house book. I can't remember all the names. There was, like, Design and Construction 101, I think it was, like,
Hmm.
Dan Lauch,
Uh-huh.
a bunch of books, even just books not about construction, just cool tiny houses. Like, there was one that there's boats, and so it just, like, sparked I don't know, the creativity in my head. Like, you can do this. It doesn't have to be there's no set way to build a tiny home. There's a million different ways you can do it, which is like, okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm not doing it wrong. I'm doing it a different way, or just my way. So probably just those, yeah.
Awesome.
That dude's channel and the
Awesome. Well, Matt Coldren, thanks so much for being a guest on the show today. This was really fun.
no problem.
Thank you so much to Matt Coldren for being a guest on the show today. You can find the show notes for this episode, including photos of Matt's truck bed, a complete transcript, and more over at thetinyhouse.net/249. Again, that's thetinyhouse.net/249. I really appreciate you listening. I would love if you could share this podcast with 2 or 3 friends who you think could benefit from it, that is the best way that the show gets new listeners. And I love reaching new listeners on the show. So again, if you can share the show with 2 or 3 people who you think would appreciate it, I would appreciate you very much. Well, that's all for this week. I'm your host, Ethan Waldman, and I'll be back next week with another episode of the Tiny House Lifestyle Podcast.